Hey there, it's Kurt at Trades here, and today we're going to talk about which winter tire is the best one for you. So I see this a lot of the times on car forums and other car groups about people will come in and they'll ask, which snow tire should I get, or is this a good tire to drive on in the winter? And the more I think about it, the more I've found that it depends on each individual person, and not so much even the city you live in or the region of the world or the region of the United States that you live in, but it's more about your individual location in your city, where you drive typically during the day. And the other conclusion I've come to is that no tire is perfect and every tire has a weak point in it. Now, we're going to look at these two tires here. I'm also going to show you a few up on the screen, some different tread patterns. And there really are about 4 different types of tires that you could be using in the snow. And we have what are called snow tires or winter tires. I'm going to use the word winter tires as much as I can because some winter tires are better in the snow and some are better in the ice. And so when I say winter tire, I mean one that has a snowflake symbol on the side of it. And the tires that have a snowflake symbol, they have a different consistency and a different composition of the rubber in them that is softer when it is cold out. So below about 45 degrees they stay soft. Typical all-season tire and definitely a summer tire. When they get below 45 degrees Fahrenheit, they harden up and they don't work near as well as a true winter tire will. Now, these two both have snowflake symbol on the side of them. We have a Hankook I-Pike, and this is a much bigger tire that we run on our Jeep. And this is a smaller Blizzak WS60 tire that I use on my Subaru. And if you notice, these are both winter tires, but the tread patterns are quite different. And the biggest difference here is, if you notice, they both have sipes in them, and sipes are these little lines that go along on the tread blocks. And the WS60 has a lot more sipes in it. There's way more sipes in it than this tire does here. And sipes really help. They help on wet pavement to get the water out from under, but the biggest thing that they help with is on ice. And the more sipes you have, the better your tire will perform on ice, because all these little lines that are cut in here, when the tire is when it flexes, when you're accelerating or braking, it kind of pulls out the sipes, and so these little edges, these kind of turn into edges. They raise up a little bit, and they can catch the little imperfections on the ice and help to slow or accelerate your vehicle better. So the more sipes it has, the better it's going to perform on ice. Now, this one obviously has sipes as well to help with ice traction, but if you notice, it's got a lot bigger openings in between the tread blocks. This one has a lot smaller openings in between the tread blocks. And a tire like this will perform better on snow than one like this will. And the reason is because these gaps in between the tread blocks, they actually hold snow inside of them, and snow sticks really well to itself to provide more traction. Now, there's one other snow tire I really want to talk about, and I don't actually own this tire, but it's a Cooper tire, and it's even more open than this tire here. And so it's made to be really good on snow, but it also has sipes on the big tread blocks. So it does really well on ice and snow. And that's probably one of the best winter tires if you're looking for snow and ice performance. But again, it's not going to be as good on ice as this one is, but it's going to be better on snow than this one is because it's got a more open tread pattern. So again, there's a trade-off with everything. With a tire like this, it's awesome on ice with all the sipes, but it's not as good on snow because it doesn't hold as much snow in here and it doesn't have as open of a tread block. And again, this one is going to be better on snow and not as good on ice. Now, all these have a downfall is they don't do very well when it's warm out. When it's above 45, these get soft and mushy. So again, every single tire has a weak point. Summer tires, they're great in the summer, they're great on dry pavement, when it's really hot out, but if it gets wet, they don't do as well. They don't have as many sipes to get the water out from underneath them. And if it gets down below 45 or 50 degrees, again, they harden up and they don't have near as good a traction as even an all-season would in those temperatures. And I'm going to talk a little bit about all-season tires next. So here's an all-season tire. This is a very worn down tire. Obviously, if your tires are worn down this much where the wear indicators are showing, or even with the tread, it's not going to be adequate for driving, and I need to get new tires on these. These are the tires I use in the summer, and they're an all-season tire, but these are rated as a mud and snow tire. And it's laughable, actually. Even when these were new, these aren't, you're not going to want to take these in the snow or the mud even. I think the mud and snow rating is kind of a joke because, again, it has to do with how open they are and how many sipes they have. But for this to qualify as a mud and snow tire is laughable. I wouldn't be caught with these in the mud or the snow. It does really awesome in places with mild climates or that don't even see winter at all, and they do fine in rain, and that's what they're for, really. The joke is that people call all season tires no season tires because they're not very good in any conditions. They're okay in all conditions, but they're not good in any conditions either. They're pretty good in the summer, they're pretty good in the dry, they're pretty good in the wet, and the one good thing I will say is that they usually last a while. But again, no tire is perfect in every way. One other tire I specifically want to talk about is all-terrain tires or mud tires that people typically put on Jeeps or off-road vehicles. And it depends on the specific tire. Now, a mud tire with really big tread blocks is going to be okay in the snow, but if you get a mud tire, a specific mud tire on ice, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because it's going to turn into a rock and it does not have sipes on it, so it's not going to get any grip on ice, or not very good of grip on ice, I should say. An all-terrain tire is a little better. It will do okay in the snow because it can, again, pick up snow inside those openings on the tire, but it will not do well on ice, and that is the trade-off with that tire. Okay, so you may be asking yourself, so which tire is the best for me? And again, like I said earlier, that really depends on what you want out of a tire and where you live and the roads you drive on daily. And I think this is where a lot of the arguments happen in forums and on car group sites, and people drive in different situations. What I think is an awesome snow tire might not be good for someone else. So for example, let's just use kind of these two tires to compare. This one, again, is a little bit better on snow. This one is better on ice. I live in the city, and the times where I have to go through unplowed roads of 6 inches of snow or greater is probably about 5 or 6 times a year. The majority of the time when I'm driving, it's on either plowed roads or icy roads, and my biggest concern when I'm driving is ice. So I love having a tire like this, like a Michelin X-Ice or a Blizzak, specifically made to combat ice with lots of sipes and a more compact and less open tread blocks. Now, if you live somewhere where you're out on dirt roads a lot or county roads where they might not get plowed right away and snow is drifting over them, yeah, you're going to want a tire that's a lot more open, like something like this that's better on snow. Or even an all-terrain tire is fine because, again, someone who lives out on dirt roads is going to need an all-terrain tire when it gets sloppy in the spring, when the dirt roads kind of get muddy. And so something like this, or an all-terrain even, makes a lot more sense for someone who lives out in the country more, or again, goes on dirt roads frequently. So it really depends on your preferences. If you're doing hills a lot, again, you're going to want something that has sipes in it for hills, especially if they get icy. If you're in an all-terrain tire or an all-season tire on icy hills, you are in for trouble. If you live somewhere where it's completely flat and you don't get a ton of snow, pretty mild climate, you can get away with an all-season tire, but just make sure it has good tread life. So it really depends on your situation. An all-season tire might be fine if you see, even if you do see snow and ice, it might be fine. And just know that whatever you choose to put on your car is what you have to deal with when it gets nasty out. And I can't recommend snow tires enough. I think everyone who lives where it gets really snowy in the winter should have some sort of dedicated snow tire. And again, the difference between stopping in 20 feet and stopping in 40 feet could mean the difference between sliding out into an intersection or not. So again, it's your safety, and I think everyone should get the proper tires for the proper situation that they're in.